indeed. Thank you. Thank you, choir and Larry. Oh, we're making a big deal out of Easter, aren't we? Why do we do that? What does Easter mean for Unitarian Universalists? Well, first of all, it is the holiest day on the Christian calendar, and we do have Christian UUs, and so it's right to make a big deal out of important holidays for all of our theologies, right? And this is a big one. So that's one reason. But what meaning can it really have for those of us who profess to be Unitarian Universalists, especially on the Unitarian side? On a day that we talk so much about resurrection, I'm going to tell you that most Unitarian Universalists do not believe in literal resurrection. I confess to you that I do not believe in a literal bodily resurrection. Now, perhaps you do. Perhaps you do, because I know some UUs do. And if you do, it is not for me to tell you that your theology is wrong and that's not true. That's fine. That's great. That's wonderful. I personally don't. So why am I making a big deal out of Easter? Because I'll tell you that I don't think a literal bodily resurrection is the most important part of resurrection. I don't think that that's really what it's all about. I think that it's pretty amazing that a small band of religious zealots following a little fringe group of Jews in Palestine a couple thousand years ago turned into the world's largest religion. How did that happen? That, my friends, is resurrection. And I don't think it happened just that one time. We can resurrect things all over the place. We can and we do. Now, if you're familiar with the Bishop Oscar Romero from El Salvador, he was assassinated. He was assassinated while serving communion, oh my goodness, in the church. But he had said, if you strike me down, I will rise up stronger in the Salvadoran people. And he did. That, my friends, is resurrection. So how does that live in us? Wendy just did a fabulous job, yes, of telling the Easter story from Mark. You too can learn to tell stories this way. Okay, I got that plugged in. She did a fabulous job of telling that story. And the thing about the story from Mark is incomplete. The women go to the tomb. It's empty. There's some guy sitting there saying, oh yeah, he's not here. He rose from the dead. He'll meet you in Galilee, like he said. I just want you to put yourself in that place for a minute. You're in mourning. I mean traumatic mourning, okay? Because this isn't just, oh, somebody was sick of it. This is traumatic mourning. Traumatic grief. And now you go to prepare somebody for burial and the body's gone. And how did anybody get into this tomb anyway? And some guy is just sitting there saying, oh, No, it's cool. You're good. He's already risen from the dead. What? What? And they were terrified. I mean, wouldn't you, what would your reaction be? Would it be, oh yes, cool, I believe this man I've never seen before all dressed in white? Or would it be, let's get out of here? And they skedaddled. And in Mark it says they told no one, except for obviously they told lots of people eventually, because word seems to have gotten out. Now, for the people of that time, Mark was so unsettling. We don't like unfinished business, do we? We don't like unfinished stories. And this was so unsettling that in later years, people wrote additions to Mark, like fan fiction. You know, additions to Mark in which, oh yeah, but then, they told the disciples and Jesus showed up again and it's all cool. He was definitely there. Because people don't like those unsettled endings. But beloveds, we have unsettled endings. Now I want to tell you that I am so delighted to be with you on this Easter Sunday. I have been with you for 3 years. Which, by the way, is Jesus had a ministry of 3 years. I'm not equating myself with Jesus. But there's an irony there. I have been with you for 3 years, and this is my first and only time to have a live, in-person Easter service with you. And I am overflowing with joy and gratitude. Because we stopped worshiping in person on March 8th, 2020. My first Easter with you was on Zoom. My second Easter with you was on Zoom. Now, some of you are still on Zoom, and I'm so glad you're here. And how many folks do we have on Zoom? 24. We have 24 devices connected on Zoom, and I'm so glad you're here with us. I have not forgotten you. But I'm so glad that we can also be together in person in this way. But in that time, you have sold your building. We are meeting in a senior center that's not out, like we're going to have to break all this down. Y'all are going to stay and help with putting chairs away, right? We sit aside over here. We got to, we have to set up each week and break down, and we bring stuff in, and we have, like, it's very different, right? Does it feel unsettled and unfinished? Does it feel unsettled and unfinished? I'll be leaving you in just a couple of months. Some of you have expressed to me that you're sad about this, that this is hard for you. I understand. The resurrection story tells us that there is more yet to come, that feelings are complicated, and things are around the corner. And remember the butterfly. Because resurrection doesn't look exactly like everything looked before. It looks new and different and takes time to get used to. There are new and different things that we are all getting used to. Yes? And yet, it is Easter. The flowers are blooming. These are real things here. Look at these beautiful, the flowers are blooming. You are blooming. Look at the beautiful Easter colors on the choir this morning. They look like Easter eggs. They look like Easter eggs. It's fabulous. There is hope in all of this. Hope and new life and so many possibilities. You are filled with possibilities. I keep turning my back on the camera here. We set up in a new place this morning. And I don't mean to turn my back on you, but we're in a circle here. So it takes time to process the whole Easter story. That's okay. You can process it. Take your time. It's a lot. So much has happened. Take your time. Work through it. Find the bits that give you strength. Take time to smell the flowers. Remember to spice up your life a little bit. You have a whole little packet to start with. Remember the butterflies. Listen to the women. Definitely listen to them. And open your hearts and your minds for something new, for new possibilities, for things in a new way. Caterpillars are delightful. And butterflies take to the skies. You can take to the skies. The story is incomplete, but it is inside of you. This is what Easter and resurrection can mean for us. Now, I would be remiss, especially on Easter, if I didn't mention a little bit, at least, about the things that Jesus taught us. And the main thing that Jesus taught us, and the most dangerous thing, and the reason that he was killed by empire, was to have love and compassion for one another, especially for the oppressed. So when considering all the possibilities, when moving into the new life, remember not just your own wants and desires. Remember whose voice isn't here, who will speak for those who are not in the room. You don't have to be a Christian to let Jesus' voice speak through you. I'm saying that today because it's Easter. He's not the only one. Let that message of love come through you. Open your hearts and spring up again. Beloveds, let us continue to rise.